What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another Salt and Pauper video. And today we are looking at the brand new build of Affinity. This has very quickly become the boogeyman of Pauper. Once again, Modern Horizons 3 is here, and the cards have seemingly shifted the meta very, very strongly towards the few decks that those top cards fit in. This one is featuring 8 of them. We have 4 refurbished familiars, as well as 4 sneaky snackers. Both of these cards, no joke, both of these cards, everybody knew these cards would be good. Grixis Affinity naturally played the refurbished familiar already. Fitting in the sneaky snacker didn't seem like that big of a stretch, and so far we've had incredible results on this deck. Obviously, everyone is expecting Affinity to be very, very popular, so lots of people are mainlining those Dust to Dusts again. Revoke Existence, Cast into Fire, you're going to be fighting through a whole lot of artifact hate. But with that being said, this is the deck list. Let's jump into the feature games. I will have the list linked below as well for those of you watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos. And let's jump into the feature games for this deck. All right, this is game number 1, match number 1, versus Dark Caps. We are on the draw. This is a perfectly keepable hand. Do not have red mana, but hopefully we can get there. We do have a Sneaky Snacker into a Thoughtcast, so we should be just fine. Let's fire it off and see what happens here. They're going to start on a Volatile Fjord. Very popular deck as well right now. Is it Control? Tolarian Terror Scred type of deck. We're just going to lead with a Sneaky Snacker. Pretty safe into like Scred, Lightning Bolt, those kind of things, as well as not being spell pierceable like the Wellspring would have been. We do hit a red land, which is great. That'll let us play this Makeshift Munitions. We're going to play a Wellspring into open mana here. It's a fairly low impact spell, so if the opponent does have a counter spell, they're not likely to counter Wellspring. They just go with a Thought Scour. Play a land, pass back. We're going to go ahead and play another Wellspring. We do get to hold this Metallic Rebuke open. We're just going with fairly low impact artifacts to start to clutter up the board here. Make the opponent waste a whole lot of tempo holding these counterspells open if that's what they're going to do. Opponent with 6 cards in hand, just taking another 2. We're going to play a main board Nihil Spellbomb, which is fine. They do have the negate for it. But we have the Metallic Rebuke, and all of this is by design here. So the opponent has a choice. They either let this Nihil Spellbomb resolve, which seems like it would be very good against things running Thought Scour, just because that's more than likely going to be a Tolarian Terror deck. But if they do have the backup counterspell, that's okay. This was all designed to land this Makeshift Munitions through their counter backup. So we'll see if they allow the Metallic Rebuke to resolve or not. They do just pay for the Metallic Rebuke, which I love. That allows me to get the Makeshift Munitions down even more safely, because if they did have a counterspell into like a Spell Pierce, we might have been in trouble there. We're just going to go ahead and attack for 2. The Cryptic Serpent's not winning the race here. We have a whole lot of pings. We're just going to ping with the Snacker, then cast another Thoughtcast to get the Snacker back. We do have 1 mana available again to ping with the Snacker again, put them down to 10. We have 5 mana available. We do take 6 here. They play a lot of stats on the board, so this is the point at which the tempo is going to shift a bit. Opponent is going to negate another Thoughtcast, which is fine. A little bit annoying, but fine. We do hold this Ichor Wellspring mostly so that we can sacrifice all 4 of our things. Refurbish Snacker and double Wellspring. We are going to go ahead and do that. Unfortunately, we were just a little bit short in order to get the Snacker back. But that is okay. We untap, we have the mana to just fire off and kill them. They only have 1 card in hand, so they go ahead and scoop it up. And we're going to go off to a game number 2. Righty, game number 2 here. All right, so sideboard plan here, we bring in a couple of red blasts, and this is a perfectly keepable hand, so we're going to head and let it rip. Opponent is going to lead on tap lane again, which is great for us. It means we get to get this Nihil Spellbomb down uncontested. We love that. Opponent's just going to brainstorm, play a tapped land. This is fine for us here. We're going to go ahead and play this Snacker. Opponent is going to show us Otherworldly Gaze, which is a super good card in this matchup, but they play it at sorcery speed, which is a little questionable. Then they go for a Careful Study, so definitely fill the graveyard with quite a bit. We're going to Thoughtcast into some lands here, and then just to slow the game down, we're going to go ahead and crack this Nihil Spellbomb just to give us a little bit more time, because we're not really finding any gas or pressure. We're just going to go ahead and attack with this Snacker here. And the opponent is just going to scoop. Sometimes it is just that easy. Nihil Spellbomb in the main really showing its value here. Could have brought in the other Spellbomb. Didn't know that it would be that game-breaking. If this was like black-blue Terror, definitely would have brought in the second Spellbomb. But against blue-red, I mean, they have Murmuring Mystic. They have lots of ways that aren't graveyard-related to win the game. So wasn't sure that this was going to be the straw that broke the camel's back, as it were. But in this case, definitely was. That is match number 1. Nice, swift victory from Affinity, showing some of those silver bullets really do kind of solve matches for you. And in game number 1, just showing the power of makeshift munitions with an all artifact mana base. Definitely going the distance there. Didn't get to showcase Sneaky Snacker or Refurbished Familiar to the best of their potential, but fret not, the next match definitely goes the distance. So let's jump into match number 2. All right, this is match number 2 against Goblin Guide 123. Let's see what we are up against this time. This is definitely a keepable hand, albeit a little slow. We have a lot of rebuys. This costs 8 total cards, plus we have a Blood Fountain, and we have all 3 colors. We're definitely keeping that. Opponent shows us a Dross Force Bridge. This could be several things. This could be the Mirror. This could be Rakdos, Madness, but it is not. Looks like there's some sort of Mardu deck. Could be Mardu Cleansing Fires, Mardu Synthesizer. There's definitely been an uptick in Mardu lists lately. Refurbished Familiar plus Glinthawk, things like that definitely have power, but they're going to double Myr Enforcer into a Glinthawk here, which seems very good. A little bit questionable play from the opponent there. They sacrificed a Blood Fountain to their Deadly Dispute instead of the Blood Token. Seems a little questionable. And then they go ahead and bounce a Myr Enforcer to this Glinthawk instead of like bouncing a land, and can't replay it. Perhaps the opponent miscounted their artifacts, but yeah, that definitely seemed pretty strange. Gives us an extra kind of turn of breathing room to see if we can't dig our way out of this. We top deck another Deadly. We are going to have to just kind of bite the bullet, take our medicine here, play this Ichor Wellspring, and then hope to Deadly Dispute it next turn. They get to replay that Myr Enforcer, swing for 6. Could have been taking 10 here, so the misplay did give us a little bit more time. We do Deadly into a Cast Down, which is very nice. We get our Sneaky Snacker back. That's going to let us block. Top deck a Refurbished Familiar. We love that. And then we're going to Deadly Dispute the Sneaky Snacker to get the Snacker back. Play the Nihil Spellbomb with 2 treasure tokens up for this Cast Down. They're going to Gal Blast our blocker. We're just going to cast down the Enforcer. Now, this is where that Blood Fountain sacrifice earlier comes back to bite them a little bit. They could have just got that Skyfisher and then Enforcer back and kept applying pressure. They do have a Tithing Blade, which is a little annoying to get the Snacker off the board because it comes into play tapped. Fortunately, we have a second one, so we're just going to play that. Go ahead and sack for the Deadly Dispute. Draw some extra cards. Trigger the Stacker. Play another Snacker. So really kind of have the chain available to us here. We would love to get this Reckoner's Bargain off on a Refurbished Familiar if we have time to get this Blood Fountain back. Opponent has another Gal Blast hit us. We're just going to chump block, take 4, go to 4. Play the Wellspring. We hit a Dragon's Breath, which is huge for us here. This allows us to block the Myr Enforcer and Breath Weapon to trade. They do transform the Tithing Blade, which is a little bit weird. That basically allows us some time here, but they do put us at 1, so we are going to die if we don't have something to do. Fortunately, we can crack this Blood Fountain. We can get a couple of cards back. We're going to go ahead and Reckoner's Bargain that Marin Enforcer to gain 7, so we're out of range from the Sepulcher. Get 3 Snackers back, so we have a lot of board redundancy now. They hit a Synthesizer into a Synthesizer, which is very good. Probably the best top deck they could have seen. We're going to go ahead and refurbish Familiar. We hit a Makeshift Munitions, which is massive for us. That's going to put a big clock to the end of this game. We hit a Galblast too, so definitely have a lot of power. Now we have 10 power on board with a Galblast. They're at an effective 3. And that's kind of all she wrote here if they don't have something to close out this game. They hit another synth trigger off this Glinthawk, which is great. Then a Deadly Dispute. So definitely looking at a lot of cards here. They have a lot of ways to win the game here from that position with Galblast, Lightning Bolts, things like that. Doesn't look like they find any, though. They Glinthawk. They Skyfisher. So the game is not over here. They're going to attack. We're just going to chump block. That's fine. We're going to trade that off. Now we get to put a lot of pressure on the board again. We're just going to attack. We're going to crack the Blood Fountain on my turn. Just get this refurbished down, empty the hand. And we're just going to hold. So we have Makeshift up. We are on a bit of a ticking time clock because of this Sepulcher. But we do have Makeshift. We have a Galblast. We have a Metallic Rebuke if we need it. We have a lot of options here. Once again, hitting a Synthesizer. So the opponent just top decking all of the resources. They're going to chain into a Marin Enforcer. We are going to deploy that Metallic Rebuke. Just keep off the big pressure threats so they can't try to sneak through some damage. We have our own Marin Enforcer. Now it's time to get in. We have fully untapped lands for this Makeshift Munitions. We're definitely able to put in a ton of pressure. They go to 6, they go to 2, and they're dead. GG's to the opponent. What a game one. Definitely went the long game route. Very board cluttered. But ultimately, this Makeshift Munitions did work, and we got Sneaky Snagger back like 12 times or something crazy that game. So lots and lots of recursion coming from that card. Refurbished Familiar, putting in work, definitely draining the opponent's hand and providing another flying blocker to trade off with Glinthawk. Also, it is just a 4-drop for Reckoner's Bargain, which is definitely something you need sometimes. So all in all, great match. Let's go into game number 2 against Goblin Guide 1, 2, 3. We are going to be on the draw as we won the last game. Sideboard plan here. Well, they are an Affinity deck. We saw that from the last game. We are going to definitely be bringing in our Gorilla Shamans. We take out a Breath Weapon and a Spell Bomb to make that possible. Not much else to really contend. There was an option of bringing in Hydroblast, but ultimately I don't think that's going to be the deciding factor here. So we just opt for the Gorilla Shamans. We do see a hand with 2 of them, which is pretty insane. If they are on a land light hand, we are absolutely going to be able to blow them out. Now, we don't have Cast and Fire, so we can't get rid of bridges, but all the tokens, Blood Fountain, Synthesizer stuff, we're really just trying to limit their Glinthawk effectiveness. So we're going to run with this hand. They're also on a 3-color deck, so it is likely they lead with a bounce land or a tap land. They do, so we do get a little bit of time here. They're just going to go into a Wellspring, which is great for us. It means that they don't have a Galblast or something to answer this Gorilla Shaman. We are going to get at least 1 land with it, so already providing us a ton of tempo here if they don't have a land drop, but they do, and they immediately have an answer for it, which is pretty rough. We, however, have a second one, so we do get to snipe that land as well. Unfortunately, they have another artifact land, and they just crack Deadly Dispute, I assume, to hit more land drops. But ultimately, that seems like a slight strange play pattern. I feel like you should just hold those up because you know I'm going to Gorilla Shaman your land again. if you don't have an answer for it, and you could have just Deadly Disputed the land instead. Get me to spend my mana and then Deadly Dispute. I guess they may have been worried about a Metallic Rebuke, which is fair. With this mana open, if I do just crack the Gorilla Shaman, I do have 3 mana for the Rebuke, so it's a fair play around, but it just seems a little bit strange to do it in that order and with that target. Maybe they were just hoping to make sure they were hitting their land drops. We're going to go ahead and snipe off the treasure and the land. They do have yet another land drop, though. But man, this Gorilla Shaman is just putting in a ton of work, hitting a 4th land now, which is an absolute ton. 4 lands and a treasure token. We do hit a land. We're going to go ahead and play an Enforcer into an Enforcer. We do still have Metallic Rebuke up, but they do have another bridge, so unfortunately we're not going to be able to keep them off. They do have a Dust to Dust, which is brutal, but we have the Metallic Rebuke to save ourselves the land returning, because that would have equalized the land base, not perfectly, but a lot. And unfortunately, the game is over. The opponent just scoops it up here with the counter on that Dust to Dust. The writing is kind of on the wall. So GG's to the opponent. Really cool Affinity deck. I like the Mardu version quite a bit for the Glint Hawks and Synthesizers. Ultimately, I think the Sneaky Snacker version is probably better, but time will tell. Gorilla Shaman definitely putting in work, though. If you were relying solely on things like Cast of Fire, Dust to Dust, Revoke Existence for your Affinity matchups, Gorilla Shaman is still an absolute all-star. You should probably be playing some. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Well, guys, this deck was an absolute blast to play throughout the week. It is a very powerful deck. Snacker and Refurbished Familiar feel incredible. So definitely be prepared to play against this deck if you're not on this deck, and if you are on this deck, be prepared to find all of the Affinity hate in the world against you. Expect to see, Metallic Rebukes. Expect to see lots of counter spells out of other Affinity decks because they're playing them to dodge Dust to Dust. Playing around Dust to Dust, Revoke Existence, Cast of Fire. I mean, we've said it a ton of times this video, but they are very, very likely to be seeing a ton of play right now, so you will have to fight through them. Just be prepared for that. Aside from that, this deck is very, very strong against other grindy, mid-range, value, control-y type decks, but it struggles quite a bit against some of the combo decks. Obviously, Nihil Spellbomb does some work there. Clark Clan Shaman does some work there. But with the reduced Galvblast count and only having 4 removal spells between Galvblast and Cast Down, you do have to be a little bit careful against things like walls. Obviously, the matchup against Ponza is very interesting. It's super dependent on what type of hand you have. This deck has 10 bridges, 10 non-bridges, so if you have a very bridge-heavy hand in Game 1 against Ponza, it might do just fine, but if you don't, it's going to struggle. And ultimately, Ponza is also very popular. So thank you guys for watching, as usual. Good luck in your leagues. Goodbye forever. Unless I see you next time.